Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Dadas Show, coming to you from Siala Resort in Kisumu. I'm your host, Ashiko Mbone. As our name suggests, the Dadas Show aspires to promote the spirit of sisterhood and unity by creating an open and safe platform for women to discuss issues pertaining to their health, their lifestyle, their political aspirations, their families, their careers, and anything that means something to them. Now, in the spirit of inclusion and equality, we have traveled to Kisumu City, which is 320 kilometers northwest of Nairobi, a town that is placed on the shores of Lake Victoria. The population in this place, according to the 2019 census, is 595,000 women. So, of course, it was only rightfully so for us to shoot a few episodes in this particular location where we get to tackle some issues that women hold near and dear to them. Now, a common practice within the Luo community is wife inheritance, and it's also known as the Levite marriage. This is, of course, a common practice. This is, of course, a customary practice that entails that upon the death of a husband, his brother or a paternal cousin or equivalent will step into the dead man's shoe and head his house. Now, in some situations, the widow has the liberty to pick a member of her husband's clan who is going to step into that situation. And in other cases, the wives do not have a choice, which leaves, of course, the choice to the Council of Elders. Now, there have been varying opinions in regards to wife inheritance, with others claiming that it is a backward and inferior practice and should be discarded, and others claiming that no, it holds some significant value as a cultural aspect of Luo, of the Luo tribe. So today I am joined by a group of individuals who are going to assist us to demystify and debunk and understand wife inheritance in its full entirety. Of course, before we do that, we always want to hear from you. So please join us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. We would like to hear your opinion on this and any other show that we've had before. Give us feedback, some words of encouragement. Anything you have to say to you is definitely open to us. Before we jump into this very riveting conversation, let us take a look at the following feature.
Wife inheritance is an affliction that has gripped the African society from years of time. It is a tradition where a widow gets inherited by relatives of her late husband, often his brother. Christine Agumba was widowed in the year 2002. Coming from a culture that practices wife inheritance, she knew from the onset what would follow soon after her husband's burial. For over 2 decades as a widow, Christine's life changed drastically, forcing her to adapt swiftly through the challenges.
I'm Christine Agumba, kutoka Kisumu. I'm a widow from 2002. My husband died 2002. I'm a widow for 20 years. I'm not inherited, but there are pillars in inheritance. There are many, but I can give example of around 3. One is security. The second one is bringing up your family and also genealogy. But if you are strong enough, you can know how to deal with these pillars. The pillars, it is you to make decision. If you are strong enough to take care of your family or to know how to go about the challenges in widowship, it is you. Like me, I've survived for 20 years. and I decided not to be inherited.
As she weighed the pros and cons of being inherited as a wife, Christine looked at the interest of her sons, opting to bring them up alone.
Why I did not like being inherited? One is you don't have freedom. The second one, in wife inheritance, most of men, they really support the family. This is why I hated being inherited, because they rarely assist the family. You find in some cases it is you to go about looking for food, schooling your kids, everything is you. And when he come to you, it is only your body.
Most women consented to the practice so as to retain all the rights to their husband's land and properties. The choices she made not to be inherited and focus on raising her children was more important than exposing them to circumstances that she felt was not healthy for them.
It is you to decide ile kitu inakufurahisha, but me I'm against inheritance. So long as you can take care of family, so long as you can be stable enough, so long as you can secure your family. Like me, I have 2 sons. They really love me because that respect. In inheritance, some women, they misbehave because unaleta na watoto wanaona na watoto wanajua tu baba yao alikufa. The way you misbehave with another person, it is not good.
Wife inheritance in Kenya is commonly practiced among the Luo community. Under the customary law, the presumption is that the widows and their children will be taken care of by the deceased kin, a notion that hardly materializes.
Another thing, kwa family, kuna ukizaa na mtu, unajua wanakuja na ukizaa na mtu, kuna hiyo isolation. Ukizaa na yeye, ina family unapata kama mtoto akubaliwi, wanapenda wao kushinda huyu wa mwingine.
Widow inheritance plays a pivotal role in the spread of diseases like HIV/AIDS and other sexually transmitted diseases. Such practices can only be shunned if more people, especially in the rural areas, get educated and enlightened about their rights.
Welcome back. Joining me to discuss this topic, as I mentioned, is a group of very knowledgeable people in regards to what we are talking about. Some is through experience, and others is just knowledge based out of something that they have learned since their youth. Now, right next to me, we have Madam Nancy Okoth, who is going to tell us a little bit more about herself in the course of our conversation today. Karibu sana, Nancy. And right in the middle, smack in the middle, we have Chief Elder Apollo Bwana from the Luo Council of Elders. Welcome, sir. And we are graced that you would make time from your busy schedule to sit here and join us on the Dadas show. And finally, joining us today in this panel is Milka Ndege. Milka, karibu sana. Of course, I cannot fail to acknowledge my wonderful audience who take time from their busy schedule every single time we are having a recording to sit with us and to take part in our conversation and to also give us input and encouragement. So asanteni sana, thank you for joining me under the beautiful Kisumu sun. So to get the ball rolling, I will start off with you, sir, Chief Elder Apollo. Thank you so much, first of all, for joining us on the Dadas show panel. Kindly, from your knowledge, share with us the history of wife inheritance in the region.
Thank you very much, Ashiko, to be with you in this Dadas show.
Yes.
First of all, my names are Joseph Apollo Bwana. Chief Elder of Luo Council of Elders. In the Luo, they call me Ruoth Ogai. So that is different from other chiefs. So, dealing with or handling the issue of wife inheritance, to just quickly get there.
Yes.
I just want to give the pillars of wife inheritance. The pillars of wife inheritance, the first one is about security of a wife. The second one is about continuity of the family. And it is the most difficult area because even in the Bible, everywhere, it is the most challenging within the families. The other one is about coaching the family, because when the father was there was a coaching in terms of bringing up the family, like the girls, how they could behave, the boys, how they could behave. And a wife or a woman alone cannot do that easily in the house because the characters of children differ.
Yes.
It has also been known that especially boys get difficult to be managed by mothers. So when there is a father there, then there is a sustainability and continuity of behavior, such that they grow to be good men. The other one was to continue with the genealogy. You remember when the kings want to marry, normally they do selection and find out where to get a wife.
Yes.
This is more of genealogy or genes, continuity of genes. So when a family loses a son and leaves a widow, for the genealogy of that family to continue, then it was advisable, and including the Israelites,
Yes.
that it is within the family where the husband goes in to continue to bring continuity of genealogy. The reason there is that there are some diseases which could have come from other families, which has not been there in the family. The other one is about some talents. You'll find some families are born kings. Some families are born, for example, hunters by then, or leaders. And when you mix the blood, you start now polluting the genealogy of that family. So that is one of the reason why wife inheritance was to take place. And the other one was to be within the family, because in an African or in the Luo, and this is, I call it African because it's everywhere, you go to coast, it's the same, that when a dowry is given and then the husband dies, there is no remarriage. It is inheritance. In the sense that you don't have to have that woman now as your wife because you don't pay dowry again. And in an African way, dowry is the marriage certificate. And before the marriage certificate is taken back, which is taking back the dowry,
Yes.
which can also not be done after death, then it means the wife or the woman remains a member of that family.
Okay.
So for other satisfaction, for other protection, then she gets it within the family.
Okay.
So basically that is the foundation or the pillars of wife inheritance.
Of wife inheritance.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I felt like a history lesson, and I always feel, and I always encourage people, you know, to expand their thinking, expand their horizon, so that they can understand something better before commenting about it. Now, speaking of commenting about it, Nancy, you have a story for us in regards to wife inheritance. You know, so I want to first of all thank you so much. I know it is a very sensitive and contentious topic, especially in these parts. But I'm so happy that you have found the courage to actually come and sit on this panel. We will start off with you, Nancy, and then Milka will share with us her experience. Kindly.
Thank you very much, Ashiko, and thank you very much for inviting me to this show. My name is Nancy Okoth, and I currently work for Plan International. And in this show, I'm here. I am a widow for the past 3 years. And looking at the wife inheritance, and I've also learned from what the elder have talked about continuity and the genealogy and any other thing. But I've always had a very different opinion, because I think, this thing should always be left to the woman to make a decision, whether they want to get someone to be inherited or not. But ideally, I will always want, as one of the people who have been fighting a lot about gender issues, my opinion has always been women be given an opportunity to remarry if they really feel they get someone else. Getting to learn about the marriage certificate being a dowry. But again, the person who paid the dowry to have the woman is dead now. Why would I stay where the marriage certificate, even the marriage certificate given at the civil registrar's office, I think it becomes null and void.
Yes, it's nullified upon death.
It is nullified upon death, and that is when you are easily given an opportunity. Now you are able to remarry. And looking at what is biblical, I think it is very clear in the Bible when it talks about a woman, a widow, who is not yet 60 years. The Bible talks about they are able to get someone else to marry them, a remarriage, and not an inheritance. And I wonder why this only goes to the women and not to the men. Because with the men, it is nicely packaged. It is remarriage. For a woman, it is always inheritance. Even if I live here today and get married to another home or somewhere, it is always inheritance. One could be a woman who is already done with childbirth. So you see there is no lineage that you're still continuing, and your children belongs to this family where they were born. And you as a woman, you make decision. Yes. Because what is always there is that the women are always tied because of the children they have given birth to. So women are tied to these families. And when you are a widow, and I remember using my own example, people are always telling you, please stay there, take care of your children. It's talked about the other needs, including sex. Yes, could be a woman is in need of that. But again, for you, my belief is a woman should just go get married and continue with their life. That is a remarriage, and continue with their life if that is what they would want, because it will still happen.
Yes.
So for me, my belief is if a woman feels that my husband is dead and I'm in need of another man, my policy, or rather my belief is a woman should be given opportunity. Not should be given by getting a permission.
Yes.
Yes. A woman should go out there
it should
and
be
get
your
a
choice.
man of their choice and remarry and settle. The children from this marriage belongs here if there is any child. The children from the other end belong to that home. Whether there was land or any other thing, it belongs to that home. Yes.
So thank you so much. Those are very strong opinions that you have, you know. So that means that Nancy, when they wanted to inherit you, you said, I'm sorry, this is not for me.
I've not even ever given a room of that discussion.
Yes.
As a person,
Yes.
I've not given that room of discussion of wife inheritance because it is not something that I will be able to go by. So,
Yes.
so far, I'm not able to say that somebody has ever approached me for
Yes.
wife inheritance. But again, there are men hitting on you that they will just want to pass by and go.
Yeah.
But again, I've never given that opportunity for discussion about wife inheritance because that is not what I would want to go by as a person.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you for clarifying that to us. Now, I want to go back to you, Chief Elder Apollo. When we started the show and we were talking about the introduction, there were 3 ways that the wife could be inherited. There was, of course, if she's taken, you know, if she's inherited by the brother or a paternal cousin, and then there was the one for a member of the clan, and there was one where she willingly chooses. Okay. Now, somewhere the principles behind wife inheritance, from where I sit, feel very noble. Okay, if we're talking about protection of the family, in times where we are seeing very many single parent homes because a parent has absconded, I'm not saying that that is going to be the treatment to that. I'm just saying that raising children was a communal affair. Taking care of the well-being of widows was a communal affair. You know, ensuring that families are well taken care of and supported was a communal affair, down to the person who you will marry. Where did the course of action get perverted? Because as far as I'm concerned, the women always had 3 options. But whenever we hear about stories of wife inheritance nowadays, we hear about someone is being fostered to this person, someone is being fostered, like cases she's talking about. Why would I be comfortable being inherited by somebody who has 4 other wives? And yet I can have the choice of dating somebody or getting inherited, for lack of a better word, from someone of their clan. Where did the discord begin, please?
Thank you. First of all, to react a bit on what Nancy was saying, the word forcing had never occurred in the proper and organized wife inheritance. Never. At that stage of pollution we are talking about is when it started.
Yes, yes.
Originally, when a husband passes on, and it is also written when Ruth lost her husband, there was a stage where somebody was to inherit her. And then Boaz said, Boaz is a cousin to the husband, said, no, let's sit down. He called elders and they sat down. And that is the way even Luos used to do it. Elders sit. First of all, they look at the woman and give her to decide on which husband she is to pick. And then in any case, at times it becomes difficult for a woman who has been honest to the husband. Because you can't just bump on a husband when a man, when you had no such a mind of another man apart from the husband. Of another man,
and then now all of a sudden there's a new man, and I was in love with my husband.
It didn't happen.
Yes.
So what could happen is that the elder women would guide her and let her, because at that time, she had not maybe sobbed down. And it also used to take time.
Yes.
It used to take almost a year for that lady to sob down and come back to her senses. And at that time is when now she makes a choice. And the choice, the element of choice level, then means that broad-wide kind of choice.
Yes.
In the sense that if you look at a clan,
she will have a choice of many.
All those members of the clan.
Yes.
Beyond the members of the clan,
yes,
then it becomes tricky.
Yeah.
Because this is now almost a foreigner in the home. A stranger even to the family, to the children. And in that case, it has also, that is the level again of pollution of the wife inheritance. And then what Nancy also said, that I can go and take another husband and get married. Here is a situation where the widow will have divided mind, have family on the other side, and these children are growing, becoming adults, becoming people who are good also. And then on the other side also children. Look at that widow. She'll be having divided mind. And this is what also the culture was protecting.
Yes.
Such that you have concentrated mind in the same family where you grow your children, let it be with support of that family. The other one, why that one was to be like that within the clan, within the cousins, is the protection of properties. Today, women want to go anywhere, and that person has no sense of protecting this family. Those are the ones who end up having the problem of squandering the wealth of that family instead of the continuity. The continuity of wealth is one of the aspects. Then start squandering that. Where if the widow is light enough, can go entertaining him far away with that wealth, the better for him. But for the cousins, or the uncle or the cousins, it will be difficult because finally when those children remain without anything, they are the ones who will take care of the children. They can't allow the loss of the...
Let me get you back to our question. Our question is, you do agree that there has been a diversion of the cause of what originally it would
there has been a lot.
Because there are cases now of a wife being inherited, let's say a fortnight after her husband has passed on. And yet you're saying that it would take a year. So you are accepting that there has been a cause. We will come back to that and we'll find out how do we how do we find our way back to the principles that were pushing for wife inheritance, which, like I said, but this is just my opinion, some of them appear to be very, very noble. Now, Milka, you have something about this, Na uliniambia nikukuongeleshe Kiswahili. Mimi niko sawa, mimi ninaweza ongea lugha zote. Ni Dholuo tu sijui. Milka, what's your take on all this? What experience yako ni gani na hii maneno ya wife inheritance?
Asante sana. Kwa majina naitwa Milka Atino Dhiambo, or Milka Atino Ndege. Mimi ni a widow, 15 years old widow. Hii safari ya kurithi mwanamke sio safari rahisi hivyo. Ina challenges mingi sana. I've gone through it. I've witnessed everything. I know it is not easy as such. Kwanza bwana akikufa, unaletewa mama wakubwa wa kuongelesha, wakwambie kaa kwa muda, unakaa at least 1 year, ukingojea. After that 1 year, unaambiwa sasa inabidi utafute mtu kaa naye. Vile Dadas amesema, at first, wazee ndio walikuwa nakaa chini. Wanasema, huyu sasa mtoto wetu amekufa, kijana huyu, sasa wewe chukua bibi ya ndugu yako. Lakini sahi iwezekani. Cause hata bwanako akikufa kesho ukutane na ndugu ya bwanako usalimie ucheke na yeye, hiyo ni vita. Hiyo ni vita. Ulikuwa unacheka nini na bwanangu?
Kwa nini ni vita?
Anafikiria vile umecheka na bwanake,
unataka kumchukua.
So it is not easy. Sasa inabidi tu sasa wewe umekaa tu hivyo, kama umekaa tu hivyo, utaki mwanaume yote karibu naye within this 1 year. Because walikuwa nasema within after 1 year unamaliza maneno ya bwana yako ndio unachukua mtu. So ni vizuri vile walikuwa nasema ati unaweza chukua a man from the family. But mimi I tried it. Nilijaribu kuchukua shemeji yangu na nilichokutana naye hata siwezi eleza.
Hebu tuambie ni nini ulikutana nayo Milka? Just please educate us. We are desperate for knowledge. Tuambie ni nini ilikufanyikia wakati ulichukua shemeji wako?
Niliongea, shemeji yangu alinipenda. Alafu akuja akaniambia, shemeji, mimi naona vile ndugu yangu ameenda, naona tuishi na yeye. Nikamwambia inawezekana, lakini akaniambia niende niombe bibi yake ruhusa. Akikubali ndio nikuje tuishi. Sasa nikashindwa nitaenda kwa bibi yake aje. Nikanyamaza, nikashindwa hii ni ngumu kidogo. Nikarudi kwa mama, nitaenda aje? Nikamwambia wewe enda tu ujifanye wewe ni rafiki ya huyo mama, hata hakuwa rafiki yako ili upate karibu, upate bwana yake.
Sasa ujipeleke kama mnapatana kama ni soko, unamwongezea viazi hapo.
Saa zingine
alafu umwambie sasa vile nimekupatia hata mimi nataka unipatie.
Sasa vile ilikuwa hivyo, haikuwa rahisi hivyo. Sasa mimi pia nilipoenda kwa bibi ananiuliza swali. Aliniambia, umeangalia hii community yote, huyo bwanangu ni umeona? Nilishindwa kabisa.
Yes.
From there, niliamua kuchukua a person from outside. Huyu mtu alikuwa anafanya kibarua mahali, tukajuana na yeye hapo nje. Tukaongea na yeye hapo nje, nikamchukua from hapo nje. Though au mashemeji hawakuniuliza nini imekuwa aje, but walimwambia umekuja ukule na usibebe. Hiyo tu ndio walimwambia.
The ownership.
The ownership. So sasa yeye vile yuko sasa bwana yako saizi, yeye ni wako upande yenyu, amko upande yao. Ama mimi ndo sijaelewa vizuri.
Mwenye nilipata mtu from outside. Sio from our community.
Okay. Yeah. So what was the reaction of members of your community? Kwa sababu ulijaribu. Si alijaribu. Akaenda akaulizwa kwa hii community yote. Bwanangu peke yake ndio umeona. And I'm sure Elder Apollo, those are the kind of things that people are going through. Perhaps how the society used to be before, about how polygamy was legalized. Women were a bit more, how do I put this? We could share. Now with so many other things coming up, it's a little bit difficult for me to accept that I'm going to share my husband. Hata mimi nitauliza, you know, nitauliza Milka, na wewe hizi boma zote umetoka wapi ukapata tu mtu wangu wa kwanza? Now for a situation like that, Bwana, you know, Elder, how do we mitigate that situation? Because she has tried, she's followed custom, she's waited for that year of mourning, she has been consulted by the elder women in the community. So what happens now?
With change of times,
Yes.
and change of understanding why things were being done the way they were being done, is also the beginning of the confusion.
Okay.
In the olden times, it is true, the advice was to approach the other woman.
Yes.
And it wasn't always the widow herself to go and consult.
Yes.
It has been at times the elder women talks and counsels the wife if she feels that that is the person who can stay with her. But earlier than that, what normally used to happen, as I said, a husband can die and then the wife said, wow, where do I go? Because she wasn't a hunter. What happens is that they look at the lady, the elders, women that is, and then they say, as we were staying around, we could see the blood. We call it blood. Blood
Kwa Kiswahili damu yao wawili inapatana. Inaingiana hii damu yao.
Yes, they could share even if not with any further relationship apart from that just intimacy.
Yes.
Hawakuwa na maneno ingine.
Hawakuwa na maneno.
So they were close to each other.
Yes.
Then that is where the elder starts. That, let's talk to so and so. Alinde kwa brother yake. Because by that time you'll find their mind will be reading the same thing. The two, the widow and the other man will be reading. And then they start consulting that woman. And that also is done by the elder women. Not her to go direct to that person.
Yes.
Because obviously jealousy is not a recent thing. It was born by people.
I understand you, because then that means that, you know, once they were cancelled, it looked like it was a decision that had been informed not by one entity,
No,
but by an
the
overlooking
community.
Faction.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
And that would justify it.
Yes.
You know. So I'll come back to you just 1 minute. Nancy, I want you to tell me something. You have made your decision, although you have not, like you said, nobody has come and said you need to be inherited, but you have a stance about it. I am sure when you go back home in the village with your in-laws, or, you know, what are some of the challenges, that you have experienced yourself? Even in terms of stereotypes and stigma that you have experienced because of your decision. Because as much as nobody has approached, everybody will sit and assume that, huyo alikata. Sindio? So what are some of the challenges that you have experienced based off your decision?
Okay, one of the challenges is when my husband passed on, I wanted to do some renovations in my house, or rather in my home. I changed the gate, and then I also wanted to do some extension. And then when we called the fundi was the first fundi that we called forward, was like, where is the man? I think when the gate is being put, there must be a man. And then when the fundi was told I am a widow, the fundi did not work, because according to him, he has inherited me. If he's done that, I don't know how they do it. So he was not so flexible to do it.
Yes.
And I said, for me, it is my money and my gate to be made. So I looked for somebody who wanted money.
And he will not be in short supply of those ones.
Yes, wanted money to do it, because I mean, I was not going to go into that I bring a man so that I have my gate fixed. You see, such things.
Yeah.
But again, I also experienced a lot of challenge. Sometimes last year I had a son who was very much unwell. My son used to be very plump. And then when the son was unwell, it really reduced. Actually, it was some infection. I took him into the hospital and he's now well. And they started to say, this woman must have been inherited outside there. So he's brought some chira. to this son.
Oh, Chira.
Yes,
I've even had
they-
someone whispering
they
Chira,
started-
Chira over here in the audience.
They started bringing some other issues, but for me, I knew my son was just sick,
Yes.
like any other person
Yes.
could be sick. I knew very well until even now I'm talking here. I've never brought a man to sleep in that my house since my husband passed on. So they say this one must have been inherited, and now there is this thing that is following
Hiyo Chira ndo
the child.
inafuata mpaka
And
mtoto
at that particular
anagonjeka.
time, I think I had lost a child also, was a daughter. And then I even went through postmortem and identified the cause of death because it was an abrupt death. And I was just in my mind that if in case it was this son that would have passed on, I think this Chira are only on sons and not on daughters. I don't know why. Maybe the elder will be able to explain. It will have been a different story. But I just want to say this, yes, apart from challenges, and just maybe to talk about something the elder and Milka were talking about, community giving a timeline of 1 year.
Yes.
And I am wondering why 1 year. You could be a widow who have taken care of your sick husband for 5 years. These 5 years you are loyal. These 5 years you are taking care of your man.
Yeah.
Your man passes on. The community still has a timeline of a year.
Of how soon
Of
you
how
should
soon.
you should mourn, get over it, and be
And
ready.
the
Not
reason
only
that's why I'm saying
physically,
that because
but
the elder said that if you are seen to get a man very fast,
Yeah.
it seems that either you did not love the man or
Yeah.
you are waiting for the man to die.
for the man to die. Oh dear.
For
Oh,
you.
you've opened a whole Pandora's box right there. And I feel that's an appropriate time for us to drink, 1 mug of water so that we can come back and continue with this very interesting conversation. We'll be right back after a very short break. Welcome back to the question and answer session. Before we took a break, we had very, very engaging conversations with our panel, and I wish sometimes that the show was 2 hours long so that I can be able to answer and ask all the questions that I have in regards to wife inheritance. However, I am not the only participant in this show. I have a wonderful audience who also do want to interact with the panel. So to start us off, I have Lona. Lona, you have a question.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ashiko. My question is this. Personally, I've been working with girls and young women in the society. And the issue that is revolving around is that there is no influence of girls and young women in decision making. That's why you find that this issue of wife inheritance, at some point the decision is being made by the elders. So my question is this. Currently, we are trying to do a sensitization to influence girls and young women in decision making so that in anything that they do, they need to be the first people to make the decision on what they want. So is there any way that those widows were involved in any decision making processes, or they were just being informed to marry so and so?
Consultation used to be there. And those consultations were around sustainability of that family, especially when the children are left when they are still young.
Yes.
And there's one unique thing which used to happen, that in the consultation you might find they start thinking of a sister to the widow. And it was being linked that the blood of those children are also linked to the sister. And therefore she's going to feel for the children compared to any other woman who will come from a different family. That used to happen. And that consultation used even to take place between the family of the widow and the widower. And also any advice. They can also say that we know our grandchildren are there, but we know our sister so-and-so can take care of those children. That was also still on the aspect of continuity, so that the children don't feel so much bereaved, so much out. Yes, consultation used to happen.
So that was the parameters at which they were
Right,
engaged.
right.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope, Lorna, that has answered your question. Our next question comes from Dorothy.
Thank you, Ashiko. My question goes to Milka. I mean, like the time when you were inherited, were you doing it for yourself or were you doing it under pressure because the community wants you to get inherited? And after that, did you feel like you have achieved something or were you just doing it for those people?
Good question. Good, very good question. Milka.
Okay, asante sana kwa swali lako. Wakati niliridhiwa, mimi bwanangu alipokufa aliniwacha bila mtoto. Nilikuwa nimezaa watoto 5 na wote walikufa. Nikazika bwana after. Nilibaki bila mtoto hata mmoja. Sasa nilipopata mtu wa kuishi naye, nilijaribu angalau nipate hata mtoto mmoja mwenye naweza kuwa naye kwa. Sikulazimishwa. Niliona tu at least kama naweza pata hata mtoto mmoja mwenye naweza ita mtoto wangu, inaweza kuwa mzuri. Sasa niliishi naye, nikapata mtoto wa kwanza, nikapata mtoto wa pili. I have 2 children, a boy and a girl. And I'm happy to have a man.
I mean, I like that because I think at the end of the day, it was her choice. We are always, you know, we are always pushing for women's choices, you know, whatever choice you stand for. As long as it is her choice, it may be against what you believe in, but if it is her choice and it makes her happy, then I believe in the spirit of sisterhood, we support her. So congratulations on your babies, and of course, my deepest condolences on your husband and your children. But congratulations, Watoto. Okay. So now, number 3, Mr. Dalmas. Dalmas has a question.
To my elder, I don't understand this term Chira. And I do not also understand whom Chira affect. So, can you please, or may you please share?
Thank you. Thank you. So, what is Chira? I'm also very, Dalmas, you read my mind. What is Chira and who does Chira affect?
Chira is a mystery, I would call it. A mystery which occurs when somebody doesn't do what is correct. Yeah? From the angle of culture and the angle of... Like in the Bible, you do something to somebody which is not good. The Bible says you'll face it. So Chira emanates from that angle. That you do what is not right by the law of the culture, then you fall there. But again, to take it from another angle, Chira has also been used to protect. It's a protective, should I call it protective gear, so that people don't over-deviate from where they are going.
Veronica, you have a question or a comment?
I have a question. Thank you very much. And now what the elders explained bring me to my second question, where I'm asking, like you've said about Chira, you cannot use an old roof to build a new house. I saw it back then in my community where they only remove one iron sheet that is at the front. Why don't they bring down the whole roof so that they build another one in that case of inheritance?
Thank you.
And then to Milka, in a case where you're saying your husband left you and you had no children, and then you are in your own home, and again you went further saying you got a man from outside. So do you bring that man in your home, or do you abandon your home to live with that man in another place elsewhere?
Nilipata mzee kama niko kwa boma yangu, na yeye ndiye alikuja kuishi na mimi, sio mimi nilienda na yeye. Sasa yeye ndiye anakuja kuishi kwangu.
And that is culture.
Na culture inasema hivyo.
That is when it is inheritance.
Ndio yeye pia alikuwa na bibi yake na watoto wake huko, lakini anakuja kwangu for some time ndiye anarudi kwake. Inasemekana hivyo. Hawezi kuja tu one night anaenda. Anamaliza 3 days anakula kuku hapa, anaoga hapa, ndiye anaenda anarudi kwake.
Yes. Okay, well that is a good, and that is according to culture. As
that
you
is
said.
culture, Luo culture.
Veronica, you had actually talked about a customary practice of leaving an iron sheet in an old house. I believe Elder Apollo will be able to clarify or to explain what that means and its significance to wife inheritance.
Yeah, thank you. I want to take it as a mark of change. A mark of change. When President Uhuru was leaving the governance, there was the presidential flag, which, if you all marked, they were different when President Ruto was coming in. A mark of change. A mark of change also used to happen in all cultures where you find, even in Islam, they dress differently. A mark of change. A mark of change used to happen that when a widow, a man dies, the widow shaves clean the head. A mark of change. So the mark of change, the roof before the iron sheets used to be done again with grass. So that whoever goes there sees, there's a change here. There's a man. It's just the same way the Maasais would put a spear in front of the house to mark that there is a man inside there. So it was a mark of change that there's a transition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, that's really well put. That's really well put. So we will move to our next question. From Veronica, we have Juventa.
My question goes to the clan elder. What is the meaning of this term called taboo, and in English, how do we call taboo? How do we call chira? And then what is the difference between chira and taboo?
That's a good question. You know, what is, because I think even our viewers at home are wondering, because when we talk about chira, it sounds a little bit like taboo. But if there's a difference, please kindly clarify.
In fact, there is no difference. Taboo is what you face when you don't do it right. So is chira.
Thank you. Juventa, so taboo and chira are the same thing, you know. So thank you so much, Juventa. And right next we have a question or a comment from Irene.
Nancy talked about something that when it comes to female or when it comes to male, they easily get married. They remarry after the death of a spouse. But for women, it's taken so heavily, and it's an issue that involves everyone else, that everyone making decision for women that you have to get inherited, and it's called inheritance. But for men, it's called remarriage. Number two is like everyone else say, all Luo tradition starts and stops with sex. Yeah, wife inheritance is one of them. Like, is a tradition. A woman has to be inherited after the death of a spouse. So we have HIV. Like, we are aware about the HIV transmission, how HIV gets transmitted, and being in a lake region, we know the prevalence. So what if the person who wants to inherit this woman is HIV positive? Do you even consider that this woman is HIV positive? Because I know in wife inheritance, and when we are doing the cleansing bit, as we call it, there is no
protection.
Do you consider the health or safety of the people who are involved in wife inheritance, the woman and the man? Does testing take place? Yeah, that's my question.
Thank you so much, Irene. And it is something that we actually did want to touch on before the break. It is a well-known fact, and we started by talking about the prevalence of HIV in the Lakeside region. You know, it's the numbers are close to the highest in the whole country. And of course, one of the factors that has been attributed to this has been wife inheritance, especially the cleansing ceremonies. Now, we are all for tradition, but how are people mitigating? What do you feel about that, as wife inheritance being considered as a lead cause for the rising numbers of HIV infections? And by so doing, what are you as a council of elders doing to mitigate this situation?
Thank you. First of all, I want to say that we've taken wife inheritance as the lead, and it is not the lead. the lead cause of HIV is sex. It's not wife inheritance. And to justify that, you'll find even the couples are getting HIV and they're not inherited each other. You find the young persons are getting this and they're not yet married and they're not yet inherited. So it's only that it has been highlighted too much to look like wife inheritance is what causes HIV. So as I see it, and as we know with elders, HIV enters into any person who goes having sex. So then, what about now that it gets even the women who are inherited or who intend to be inherited? Intend in the sense that if you take statistics today and you do a research, even those who say they are not inherited, you'll find they sneak through the windows to go and get a man.
I just wanted to add a word. Yes, Irene brought the aspect of HIV/AIDS. I wanted to bring the aspect of children and inheritance, because most of the time you realize that this woman is inherited. They already had 4 or 3 children. A brother comes in or a cousin to inherit this woman. Sires 3 children. This woman does not even have enough land. Most of the time you realize that the man that sired these children, that is the one who inherited the woman, does not recognize, or rather does not even give land to these children, because these children are supposed to take even their birth certificate, should read the name of their late father. Actually, that thing has just been, it's going down because the children's department were like, and other departments that are giving social services are like, your husband died in 2007, this child was born in 2012, and you call this child an orphan. Did this dead person come out to give birth? You see, so such things have been coming out now, so that they are ensuring that the birth certificates reads, which is against the cultural aspect, the birth certificates reads the name of this person who sired them. This is because of about inheritance, because these children are born here, they are inheriting here. The parents or the mothers are really struggling to get even something to feed these children. This man who could be inheriting you, maybe you stayed with you for 3 years and maybe it broke down or whatever, so goes back to their families and enjoys, and you are here struggling with your children. So there is also this aspect of child protection, which I think the elders, or rather the Luo culture, did not think of. Yes, protection in terms of security, but what of the protection of these children sired here?
The word continuity, and the verse even says, and that is what Luo culture is, a son who is born after the deceased husband will be named the deceased husband. That means what? It means all these children who are born by the inheriting husband remains of that family. So the pollution comes up on thinking of, no, they were born elsewhere. They have to go elsewhere. And that is also polluting the bond within the family. Because these are the children, we start seeing these children as foreigners. And this brings a lot of commotion. Today, there is a law which says a child born here has to claim from the father. It is contradicting Luo culture, and it is going to bring a lot of war. Because by culture we know if I inherit a woman, then I do the continuation of my brother or my cousin, but they remain of that family. With all they'll be earning in future, with all the wealth they'll be having in future, it is for that family, not mine. I cannot claim anything from there.
Finally, we will get a comment from Beatrice very briefly.
Somebody was inherited and gave birth. You find that the brothers who are here before can tell that son you gave birth with an inherited person, go back to your home. Your father is not here. Because the child will say, me, my father was buried there. Your father is there, which is very wrong.
Yeah,
to our
so
custom.
thank you so much,
Maybe to-
Beatrice. I think those are noteworthy points. And I think what is coming out, I think at the end of the day, is there certain things that need to be perhaps readjusted to keep up with the times, but while still maintaining the dignity of our culture. Now, we have come to the end of today's interactive and informative and insightful and even somewhat entertaining episode. And we really have learnt a lot in terms of wife inheritance. Of course, I do hope that everybody at home will be inspired to read a little bit more before casting judgment, to read a little bit more before having an opinion, you know, so that we can have objectiveness as we deal with very contentious issues. Now, here are my 2 cents about the whole matter. African cultures for a long time have always been considered as inferior, and they have always been looked at as maybe some way defective or backward. And for that reason, very many people have been opting for something that we call cultural validation from what we consider superior foreign culture, while of course others have sought to deeply entrench themselves almost as defiance. Now, at the end of the day, such lively discussions, and part of the reason why we had such lively discussions, are meant to help people at home to be able to reimagine and to realign their thinking towards their culture. Yes, someone did mention mwacha mila ni mtumwa. So if we do make a means of understanding, you know, so let's understand, let us realign with what suits us, and let us imagine a way forward. Because at the end of the day, who are we without our culture? So whichever side you stand, you know, always ensure that you have all the facts and all the information about what you're about to cast a shadow of doubt on. So, of course, I want to thank my wonderful panel who have made time. This was a very heated discussion. I wish it could go longer, but unfortunately, time does not allow us. So thank you so much for each and every one of you for making time to be able to sit here and discuss a matter that is very near and dear to the residents of this region. Of course, I also do want to thank my panel for making time to do the same thing. I want to thank my crew, the technical and production team. We really would say thank you for everything that we've been able to accomplish today. So remember, we'd always want to hear from you. So please contact us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. So on behalf of my KBC crew, our location partner, Ciela Result, and myself, Ashiko Mbune, I want to thank you for joining us. Have a lovely week. I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye-bye.